Hello and welcome back to Matt's Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup. And for the first time in quite a while, we're coming into this transfer roundup with no real feeling that a signing is imminent, because Tottenham have today confirmed their sixth signing of the summer window. We look at the announcement video and everything that has been said around the signing of Djed Spence. We look at maybe who could be next. It's looking likely that if there is another signing, it will be an attacking midfielder with James Maddison, Nicolo Zaniolo, Nabil Fekir and a number of others being linked with Tottenham at the moment. But we will focus on the outgoings, just as Fabio Paratici is doing this week with news surrounding Tanganga and what does seem to be an imminent departure. We'll also look at potential moves for Bryan Hill, Sergio Reguilon and Giovanni Lo Celso. If you are new to the channel, before we do get into all of that, do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to be kept right up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business throughout the rest of the summer. Hit that like button as well if you're looking forward to the stream. Welcome to our mods, Little Big Man Ryan and Steve. Good to see you in the chat. Simon, Zoe, Mick, Adrian, Omari, Sukil, channel member Zoe as well. Good to see all of you in the live chat. And let's dive into it with the Djed Spence announcement, which was very cleverly teased on Twitter earlier today after Tottenham said they'd left a suspense enough. They put up this wonderful video, the sixth Spence, as a lot of Tottenham fans have been asking for in the last couple of weeks, but then it was officially announced with this video. Tottenham signing Djed Spence on a 5-year contract until the summer of 2027. They said in an announcement at 9:30 this morning, "We are delighted to announce the signing of Djed Spence from Middlesbrough. The right-backs has signed a contract that will run until 2027. Djed, 21, began his youth career at Fulham before joining Middlesbrough as a 17-year-old in July 2018. Initially linking up with Borough's under-23 squad, he later broke into their first team, making his professional debut against Charlton in December 2019, before scoring his first professional goal 19 days later against Huddersfield. Shortly after, he was named the EFL Young Player of the Month. He joined Nottingham Forest on a season-long loan in 21-22 and enjoyed a highly successful spell, making 46 appearances and scoring 3 goals, as he played a key role in helping the club secure promotion to the Premier League through the Championship playoffs. An outstanding season at the county ground saw Djed scoop numerous personal awards, including a hat-trick of honours after impressive performances in March, the EFL Championship Player of the Month, EFL Championship Goal of the Month, and, for the second time in his career, the EFL Young Player of the Month. Further recognition came at the end of the 21-22 campaign, as he was named in the EFL Championship Team of the Season and the PFA Championship Team of the Year. On the international stage, Djed was named in the England under-21 squad for the first time in March, making his debut against Albania. His most recent call-up came in May, helping the Young Lions secure their place at next year's UEFA European Under-21 Championship. So at 21 years of age, there is a very impressive CV there. To be fair, he's won quite a few honours during his time at Nottingham Forest, and I think he won the Young Player of the Month at one point when he was being selected at Middlesbrough. So a fantastic time in the Championship for Spence, and he'll be looking to continue that as he comes to Tottenham, challenging for the right-back place with Emerson Royal, Matt Doherty, and look, after that game against Sevilla, it could be Lucas Moura as well, but it's one that we've been waiting for quite a while, and it's finally gotten over the line. It was, the announcement was delayed by a couple of days due to some paperwork issues, and then with the squad coming back from South Korea, there was a lot going on, but eventually this morning it was officially announced. Brian Daigle, Holly, great to see the two of you in the live chat. Brian Ireland as well, we got a YouTube royalty in the chat. You're all flooding in, great to see all of you, my friends. Now, Djed Spence himself took to social media to talk about this move. He said, "It's official. Very happy to finally sign for such a great club. It's a blessing to be here, and I can't wait to get started." Via Spurs TV as well, in his first interview as a Tottenham player, he said, "Everything is about football with me. Dedicated my whole life to it. Nothing else but just football, football, football." I'm not going to go into too much depth on him, because I'm sure you've been listening to everything about him for the last month on Spurs YouTube, so we leave it at that for Spence, but it's a good one to get over the line. £12.5 million up front, rising to £20 million if all add-ons are triggered, which I don't really think ever happens, so it'll be somewhere between £12.5 and £20 million that Tottenham pay for the right back. Stu, great to see you in the live chat. Now, onto a player that a lot of fans are hoping is going to be the next signing for Spurs. It's one that I think has been, to some extent, taken way out of proportion. Look, we know there is interest from Tottenham in James Maddison. There was interest, there was rumours earlier in the window. It has crept up again in the last couple of days. Now, Tottenham, it looks as though, like I said at the top of the show, if we are going to sign another player, the next player that we will sign is looking likely to be an attacking midfielder. And to be honest, I didn't expect that to be a priority in any capacity throughout this window. And I said it a lot with regards to Christian Eriksen, that if we did bring him in, it would give us an extra option in different formations that we can play, like that 3-4-1-2 that won the Scudetto for Antonio Conte in Italy a couple of years ago. But I didn't think that would be an outright priority. Dan Kilpatrick has today said that Tottenham still want to sign a creative midfielder this summer and may also target another defender, but focus is now firmly on outgoings after the arrival of Djed Spence. But if we still want a creative midfielder, the question is, who's it going to be? One of the main reasons why people are fully aboard the James Maddison hype train is that we still could do, I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are, but we could do with bringing in another homegrown player. And of course, James Maddison does fit that, and he would help us on that side. But look, if we do want to bring him in, it's going to be an incredibly expensive transfer. 40, 50, 60, potentially million that we'd be looking at to get that done. Some more rumours that are out there. And again, there's nothing aside from Paul O'Keefe saying that we are seriously considering James Maddison. Aside from that, there's nothing really reliable from journalists, I suppose, and if that's with verified outlets on that one. Tad is saying, I thought a cam was widely considered an Edivores. How are you surprised? I'm surprised that it is an Edivores. I know it has been, but that has surprised me throughout this window, because I didn't think, especially once we got Yves Bissouma in, I thought having those 4 more balanced midfield options, but I suppose 2 kind of more defensive between Højbjerg and Skip, and then 2 more balanced ones in Bissouma and Bentancur. The fact that Cam is still a priority, it has just surprised me a little bit. But look, again, if it's what Kante wants, obviously go for it. But it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Now, another name that is being mentioned is Nicolo Zaniolo. When Fabio Paratici went to Italy a couple of weeks ago, we know he met with Roma and briefly discussed Zaniolo. Now, Paratici is in Italy again, and Daniele Longo today has said that an incoming objective is Nicolo Zaniolo. It's believed that there could be meetings between Paratici and Roma to try and get a deal done there with Zaniolo. Jonathan Slade with the 450 super chat. Jonathan, thanks very much for that. I really appreciate it. Says, a top-class centre-back and creative midfielder will really make this window a 10 out of 10. Just need 4 to 5 sold too. Come on, you Spurs. And look, I think once we do get those 4 to 5 out, which we will have to, Tanganga looking likely to go to AC Milan. We'll go more depth in that later in the show with Ndombele, Lo Celso, Brighton Hill, one of the right backs, Sergio Reguilon. There are going to be some departures. The fact is that Tottenham still have some of that money available that was injected into the club earlier this window, and then if you add departures onto that, a centre back and an attacking midfielder isn't exactly far fetched. I think that the whole way through this window we've been talking of 6 to 8 summer signings. We're at 6. It could stop there, and I think it will be close to enough if it did, but it could continue, and we could end up with a couple more once that money comes in. But Jonathan, thanks for the super chat, and I do agree with you on that one. On Zaniolo, there have been some whispers that there has been preliminary talks this week between Zaniolo and some intermediaries to try and get something rolling there. I'm not sure how true that is, but the whispers are certainly there, and it's not surprising again with Paratici in Italy, where every time he travels, we're going to have to try and filter through the madness that will be all over our Twitter and Facebook and whatever to try and figure out what is true and what isn't. Darkson G with a super chat, absolute hero, a real supporter of all the channels, says, if we get Maddison, this is the first time we go for the aces of mid-table teams. Bissouma at Brighton, Richarlison at Everton, and then Maddison at Leicester. And that's, I made that point with Bissouma and Richarlison when we got them over the line, but then to add James Maddison into that, I would probably put Leicester at a higher standing than those other 2 clubs. I hope Locks is watching. Call them Leicester a mid-table team. But I'll put them at a higher standing. But even then, that's more of a statement to get a player like that in from Leicester. But that is exactly why it would be so difficult. I wouldn't consider Leicester a direct rival in the league next season. But from where they are, they will be hoping that Tottenham will be a direct rival for them. I know it was a very bad season last year under Brendan Rodgers, but they'll be hoping to get back up into the mix for potentially qualifying for Champions League, and we are a rival for that if that's what they want to do. But it would be a massive statement if we did get that. Bobby K, fantastic to see you. Says, let's hit the like button, folks, please, and thank you. Listen to Bobby K. Always listen to Bobby K. But look, Zaniolo, I put him in a similar bracket to Maddison, that this one is probably going to be escalated further by the fans rather than actual sources and actual news reports on this one. But we know there's going to be a lot of names on the list that Fabio Paratici has. James Maddison is one of them. Nicolo Zaniolo is another. Nabil Fekir has been mentioned from an unreliable source, but he's been mentioned, so it's potentially potentially he is on the list. There's going to be a lot of names that I think we'll hear before we do, if we do eventually get an attacking midfielder over the line. But the names that are being mentioned are a lot better than the names that have been mentioned in this position in the past. You know, Paulo Dybala is probably the biggest one that we came close to getting over the line. Of course, he's now joined Roma. But I'll be interested to see where this pursuit of an attacking midfielder does go in the coming weeks. Now, Memphis Depay is a name that's been mentioned all the way back in April. I think Gerard Romero, Tier 1 source for Barcelona, had linked Tottenham to Depay and said that either advanced talks or a bid. He said it was a lot more further on than it really seems to be. But Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that Fabio Paratici is an admirer of Memphis Depay. However, right now, at this moment, there is nothing advanced. And that was in response, I think, to a story from Sport, a Spanish outlet, that said Tottenham are willing to pay £17 million to sign Memphis Depay and have made a strong approach in the last few hours, a couple of days ago. They said as well that Barcelona will be holding out for £20 million. They also said that the forward's priority is not to return to the Premier League and he will first wait for other offers. So Romano coming out and kind of quashing that story, saying there is nothing advanced. Look, if he's available at 20 million, it's one that I'd like to see Tottenham at least try and get done. I understand if he's not keen to return to the Premier League because he moved to Man United, a very exciting prospect, and left a player that I think a lot of English football fans had completely dismissed as a talent in any way. To the point Michael Owen once saying he looks like a footballer. But again, that's one that I think keep an eye on, see how it progresses throughout the rest of the window. With Robert Lewandowski completing that move to Barcelona now, I think there is definitely potential for Memphis Depay to leave. And I was on Last Word on Spurs a couple of weeks ago with Lyle Thomas, and he was saying it's in Barcelona's interest to sell or to buy before they sell, because when they're in debt, if they sell a player, the money they get in for that will be eaten up in all that debt. So if they buy first, just increase the debt and then sell afterwards to start working it away. So it would be no surprise if they are trying to get rid of Memphis Depay. Jackson G will be interested in this story on Kim Min-jae. Loic Tanzi linked a Premier League club to the centre-back a couple of days ago. He said an unnamed Premier League club have entered the race for Kim Min-jae. There is nothing finalised relating to his destination as of this evening. Now, that was in relation to the stories that Napoli were looking to replace their Chelsea-bound Kalidou Koulibaly with the signing of the Fenerbahce defender. Sung-mo Lee, the Korean journalist, has spent a lot of time with Alistair Gold, Charlie Eccleshare, and a few other English journalists throughout that Korean tour in the last week. Sung-mo Lee said that there's nothing between Spurs and Kim Min-jae at the moment. The situation could change in the transfer window, but this is one that I've said quite a bit. I personally don't think will go anywhere. One that certainly didn't go anywhere was Rafinha. Well, he went somewhere. He went to Barcelona, but with regards to Tottenham, of course, nothing materialised there. Interestingly, Phil Hay, who's a Tier 1 top-class source for Leeds United Transfer News, he said that people at Leeds suspected Rafinha might not be keen on joining Tottenham because he feared Kante would use him in the right wing-back role, where actually Jesse Marsch used him quite a bit towards the end of last season. Phil Hay confirms that Tottenham did make an offer, a player plus cash offer, but Leeds had no interest in that player. I'd kind of assume, Holly, because they had no interest, it's probably Harry Winks that Tottenham offered in that direction. But Tottenham did indeed make an offer for Rafinha, but it was turned down by Leeds. And the feeling inside the club was that Rafinha wouldn't be keen on the transfer anyway. Before we go on to outgoings, I just want to bring you a piece from Matt Barlow, journalist I mentioned a second ago. Just a very feel-good piece that we really don't get very often with Tottenham, but we're getting a lot of them in this transfer window. So let's milk it. Let's really enjoy it. Matt Barlow titled this piece, "Kante means business at Spurs. He could be in it for the long haul." He says, when Antonio Conte addressed a post-match press conference in Suwon on Saturday and let it be known that he planned to give his players 2 days off, there were eyebrows raised among Tottenham's travelling party. The first of those days he had in mind included a 14-hour flight back to the UK. Hardly leisure time, even for those who crossed the skies in first class. Spurs resumed their pre-season training programme today, Tuesday, with another double session. Bit of a side note, Daniel Kilpatrick said that Djed Spence and Clement Longley took part in that pre-season training, the first time training with their new teammates. Back to the grindstone, that is Kante. If they're not training, it's a day off, a day lost. If it were up to him, he would have taken his squad to an Alpine retreat and worked from dawn until dusk on fitness levels and tactical philosophy. He understands the commercial opportunities of pre-season tours, however, and so he tried to cram the same workload into the time available in Seoul, with long sessions, often more than 2 hours, twice a day, in stifling heat and humidity, which, to be honest, is exactly what they're dealing with in London at the moment as well. Fullback Matt Doherty said the training was tougher than anything he had experienced in a dozen years in English professional football. For Tottenham, these are positive indicators. Kante is like a man possessed once again. Focused on the task in hand, happy with the signings completed so far by Chairman Daniel Levy and Managing Director Fabio Paratici. Happy to be out on the training pitch, whipping them into shape with his coaching staff, with barely a second to spare for anything else. Every media obligation Kante conducted in South Korea was done politely and respectfully, flashing a few smiles while emitting a general vibe that he really ought to be somewhere else doing something so much more important. Similarly, when his image appeared on the big screen during a game in Seoul, the crowd screamed in delight. He was deep in conversation with his coaches at the time, but he paused, looked up, smiled and waved. Only once though. The next time he appeared, he clocked it, ignored it, remained locked in his discussion, and the next, and so it continued until they gave up on him. Kante may have returned with a glint in his eye, but his manner has been brisk and businesslike. He's not wasting time, and this has set the tone for others. There has been little time either for his players to relax. Between training sessions, they were out in the community, signing autographs and posing for photographs, winning hearts and minds. When Saturday's game against Sevilla proved a fiery and physical encounter, Kante said that was exactly what he was hoping for. A stern physical test for his players when they had fatigue in their bodies. When they are tired, they have to collaborate to create a union in the difficulty, he said. His intensity proves his commitment. No more wondering aloud if Spurs have the ambition to match his own. Kante has trained his focus onto forging his team, transmitting his purpose and aggression. When this happens, some measure of success usually follows. He is yet to fail. Ultimately, he said it was a simple decision to commit to go on in the Spurs job. Qualifying for the Champions League was the next hook. Recruitment to his satisfaction was the next. Maybe he is even starting to consider if this partnership could stretch beyond this contract, which expires next year. This will soon become an issue for Levy, who has already invested heavily in the Italian as the man to end Tottenham's trophy drought. Can he tie Kante down to make this a long-term project? All the signs are good. So a short piece there, but a very, very positive one from Matt Barlow. And you have to say, with Kante in Korea last week saying he's only getting started at Spurs, I think that says so much about where his mentality is with the future of Tottenham. Just in the last 2 or so minutes, a bit of, I wouldn't call it breaking news, but an update from The Guardian. They have said that Tottenham are monitoring Jesse Lingard's situation. Now, it was revealed earlier today that West Ham are in talks with Jesse Lingard, as the 28-year-old is looking increasingly likely to go back to the Olympic Stadium. But The Guardian, they're saying that Tottenham are still monitoring that situation. Darkson G, another super chat, thank you very much, says, did you see Kane's interview about how happy he is with the transfers? This is great to see or hear. If we get 2 to 3 more in, Kante and Kane new contract soon. I didn't see the interview, but I can only imagine how happy Kane is, and I see a lot of fans mentioning a Kante and Kane double contract announcement. I think, again, it's just one of those that the fans are kind of running away with more than any actual news. But the happiness with Kane and with Kante is absolutely massive. And thank you for pointing out that interview, Darkson G. I'll go and have a look at it in a while. But on to the departures. Fabrizio Romano has said that Fabio Paratici will be talking with many clubs this week regarding potential outgoings at Tottenham, and one outgoing that is expected to happen at this point, and I don't have a picture of him to put up on the screen, which I should do, is Japhet Tanganga. Sky Sports have said that AC Milan's negotiations for Tanganga are progressing well, and the next few hours could be decisive. Now, AC Milan have been interested in Tanganga, I think, since last summer. Definitely in January. There's definitely been a previous window where they were keen on bringing him in, and the man at AC Milan who's really pushing this interest is interestingly Paolo Maldini. And if he has a lot of interest in Tanganga, I kind of think maybe Tottenham could hold on to him and see where it goes. But realistically, it's a relationship that is coming to an end, and I would have loved, of course, for Kante or for Tanganga to be more successful at Tottenham and to really have made his name in the team. There's nothing better than a player coming through the academy and really staking his claim in the team. But it's not looking likely with Tanganga. Fabrizio Romano has said that Tanganga is one of the potential players expected to leave, with AC Milan keen on signing him on loan. That is, Di has said today that Japhet Tanganga's agent has flown to Italy for talks with AC Milan, and Paratici is there as well, so I assume all will be involved in that talk, and it could be, because of that, one that progresses very quickly. Dan Kilpatrick has said that Paratici again is currently in Italy, where he's set for a meeting with AC Milan over Tanganga. Lyle Thomas of Sky Sports says that Milan have open talks with Tottenham, who are open to letting him leave on loan. Daniele Longo has said that, again, Paratici is there to talk about Tanganga. He also said yesterday that there will be a meeting with AC Milan and Spurs in midweek to try and find a total agreement on the figures of a loan plus right of redemption deal for the defender. So that seems like a loan with an option to buy, which I think it was Daniele Longo or Lagazetta in a second who compared that to the deal that saw AC Milan sign Fikayo Tomori from Chelsea. Calcio Mercato say that Tottenham are insistent on a buyback clause in any potential permanent deal. And there we have Lagazetta saying AC Milan want Tanganga on a loan with an option to buy, again similar to the formula which saw them purchase Tomori. So this is one that, to be honest, it looks like it'll happen. I think at this point it'll be very surprising if it doesn't happen. So yeah, it is going to be one for that'll be a bit not a bit tough to take, but it'll be a disappointing transfer to be completed, and it's definitely in the best interest of the player because he's just not getting the game time with Tottenham. It'll be in the best interest of us because we can bring in, or hopefully we can bring in, another centre back that is a genuine competition for that first team place, and that healthy competition to improve the performance within that side. And it'll be a good deal for AC Milan as well because they're getting a player that they think is good enough to play in their team, I'm sure. So look, again, I would have rather that it worked out better for Tanganga. He stepped in some very difficult moments for Tottenham and he's done very well. Was it his debut? He played one game a couple of years ago at home to Liverpool, and he played right back against Sadio Mane, and he did very, very well. I think he had a game in a similar mould against Chelsea. So we have been able to rely on him at very important moments, but unfortunately, it just doesn't really seem as though it's going to work out for him at Spurs. But of course, I'm sure I speak for myself and the 900 of you that are watching when I say I wish him all the best in Milan, and I hope he goes on to have a very successful career there. Of course, Milan just won their first Scudetto in I don't know how long last year, so they're a team that are certainly back on the up. Maybe we'll come up against him in the Champions League next season. Before we do continue with that, if you are new to the channel again, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We're currently 40 away from 15.8k. I'd love to get there on stream. We're probably not going to, but please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the stream as well if you are enjoying it. We're not even at 200 likes yet. We've over 900 watching. Sort it out. Come on. Bryan Hill is another player who will be subject to discussions with our director of football in Italy again this week. Dan Kilpatrick has said that he is set for a meeting with Sampdoria over Bryan Hill. It's a meeting he had the last time he was in Italy as well, so no surprise there. I think Hill will probably go out on loan again. It's not impossible that it's a permanent deal that sees him leave Tottenham, which would be crazy considering how much we signed him for last summer, but it doesn't look like he'll be in our first team setup next season. Daniele Longo has also said that Paratici is in Italy to discuss a departure for Bryan Hill. And Club Doria 46, a source I will be honest, I've never heard of before, say that Sampdoria are working on a loan deal with Tottenham for Bryan Hill and will pay a big percentage of his wages. Now a player that we really, really do need to get off the books is Giovanni Lo Celso. Javi Mata, and this is an interesting development on this one. I see a few people asking about Pau Torres, and this is very relevant to this. So Javi Mata, who is seen as a tier 1 source for Villarreal. Scott Spurs, thank you for subscribing. Stephen Sanders as well, I do appreciate it. Javi Mata has said that Giovanni Lo Celso is waiting for Villarreal to sign him, but they need to sell 2 players before making a bid. Movements are expected this week. So Lo Celso, of course, on loan at Villarreal last year at a very good time, played well in the Champions League for them. He wants to go back there. They want to bring him in. Now, Javi Mata also says that Lo Celso is a priority signing for Villarreal. Emery wants him. But the key thing here, as he said, they need to sell 2 players before making a bid. Tier 1 Villarreal source has said Pau Torres could leave Villarreal. Now, where Torres currently is on Tottenham's priority list, if he even is on our list at this point in time, at the moment is up in the air, and at the moment nobody really seems to know where it is. Again, I'll keep on saying that I think the story that came out from Sky Sports a couple of weeks ago that said we were pushing to try and get something done for Torres was purely a negotiation or a tactic from Paratici to force Inter Milan's hand in making their decision on Bastoni. So I don't think that was ever as advanced as it was supposed to be. So it's really hard to kind of gauge where Torres is on that list. But tier 1 Villarreal source saying that Pau Torres could leave Villarreal. Every fan is mentioning and has been mentioning the whole window through a potential swap deal between Giovanni Lo Celso and Pau Torres. With the way this is phrased, I'm not sure if that's really possible. It could be some weird financial or weird La Liga law where they're over a certain quota or they're under a certain financial sort of anything. It looks like it could be a very tricky situation. But Lo Celso wants Villarreal. Villarreal want Lo Celso. Pau Torres could have to leave to make it happen. So it's, again, like Depay, like Zaniolo, like Maddison, it's just one to keep an eye on. And while we are on the point of centre-backs, Gleison Bremer is not joining Spurs, but he's also not joining Inter Milan. I don't know how, I'm sure most of you know this already, but Gleison Bremer has signed for Juventus. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but we got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. So Gleison Bremer is on his way to Turin, which means, of course, Inter Milan can't sign him. Thomas, thank you for subscribing. And the key thing there is Gianluca Di Marzio has said, without Bremer to Inter Milan, the transfer of Skriniar to PSG is blocked. Does that open the door for an Alessandro Bastoni departure? Look, I don't want to get drawn into this again. I really, 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 really don't. But again, it's just one to keep an eye on. There's so many moving parts in this transfer window. Anyone who watches James Lawrence Alcott will know all about the ripple effect. There's a lot of the domino effect, as I prefer to call it. Things are going to happen. Things are going to move in the coming days and the coming weeks. So again, let's just keep an eye on Bastoni. Let's keep an eye on Pau Torres. Reports today from Matteo Moretto that Chelsea are moving for Josko Vardiol. Could that force Tottenham's hand? Look, the options could be opening up again soon. Let's not get excited, but we could see movement on another centre-back as well as a number 10. Daryl says, you love getting drawn into this, Maddie. Don't lie. Look, I do. Of course I do. Of course I do, but I wish I didn't. The worst thing is that I do love it. Dean, thank you for the kind words. Look, let's move away from centre-backs before I get too excited again. Diario AS has said that Villarreal are working on a permanent deal to sign Giovanni Lo Celso. They also say that they are looking to sell Paco Alcacer, Boulaye Dia, and possibly Pau Torres. We can't get away from the centre-backs, can we? To raise funds for the Tottenham midfielder. A few less reliable sources on Lo Celso, and it's actually on the Italian side of things. La Nazione say that Tottenham's talks with Fiorentina for Lo Celso didn't go well. Spurs refused to negotiate on the loan terms the Italian side proposed. Fiorentino Uno said that Tottenham have rejected a loan offer with a purchase option from Fiorentina. And Corriere Fiorentina say that Fiorentina are interested in Giovanni Lo Celso. The Italian club want to make a big investment in the attacking midfield area. Three other little bits. Tudor Mercato said that Sevilla continue to be in talks with Tottenham regarding Sergio Reguilon, but at the moment are even struggling to afford a loan deal. Alistair Gold has said that Matt Doherty's versatility, more natural wing-back ability and lesser value in the market could see him remain at the club over Emerson Royal. And Todo Fichajes, or something like that, a Spanish outlet, I wouldn't class him as anyway reliable, but just to bring this one to you as well, say that Tottenham Hotspur are in talks with Real Betis for Nabil Fekir. The Spanish club want £40 million. So we're at that stage of the window. We've two very... I've just got over 1,000 people. Crazy, and it's a random Tuesday night stream. Thank you for tuning in. There's 2 points in the Tottenham window. There's one where we're heavily going in for a player, and we every other day get news that, yeah, it's done, they're going to announce him, and it just doesn't quite seem to be the case, and everything is fully focused on that one player. However, like I said at the top of the show, we're now in a position where there's nothing imminent, there's nothing advanced, there's nothing actually happening with a specific player, so we're going to get the Maddison, Zaniolo, Depay, Torres, Bastoni, Vardiol, Fekir. We're going to get so many links, and again, we're back in that position where we have to try and dig in and figure out what is actually real. At this point in time, I think what's real is interest in Maddison and Zaniolo and probably other attacking midfielders. The centre-back one, I think Tottenham have taken a step back. We're happy to wait until next summer to get something to happen, but if an opportunity arises this summer, we'll move for it and we'll try and make it happen. And that's what this channel is about. If you are new, if you haven't tuned in before, or if you're unsure what I'm actually doing here, not only do we analyse the players that Tottenham are going to be bringing in, but we also analyse the stories and the sources, and we try and figure out what's real in a crazy transfer window. And it's one that, like I said, is going to continue with it's going to continue being busy. Not as busy as it has been, but as these players start to leave, I think we'll start to see some more money and the more funds available to bring in another couple of players. So if you are confused by the transfer rumour mill, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we will help you get through it as best we can. Theo says, and just like that, you've got my hopes up, my hopes of Bastoni alive again. Why do you do it to us, Matt? I do it to myself, and you just get affected by it because I do it on stream in front of 1,000 people. So I do apologise for that. Great content as always, mate. Thank you very much, Theo. I do appreciate it. Marlon, good to see you. Stephen says, any chance we just keep Lo Celso? I doubt it. If there is a move there for him to go, he will go, which I think needs to happen, to be honest. But that's not all from me this evening. I will be live on Last Word on Spurs at 8:30 p.m. I'm privileged to be joining Ricky and Jack Pipbrook from The Athletic, so if you enjoy the transfer content, you're going to absolutely love that stream at 8:30. So do head over to Last Word on Spurs. The stream is up at the moment. I'm actually just going to get the link and I'll put it in the live chat. So all of you wait. I will be 15 seconds before I get that link in the live chat for you. And you can go over there and you can set your reminder. So 8:30 p.m. with myself, Ricky Sachs, and Jack Pipbrook. Let me just spam that link in there. So just head over to that link. There should be a little bell icon on the stream. You can click on that. It'll give you a notification when we go live at 8:30. If you want to say Matt Hayes sent me or something in the live chat as well, go ahead. Let Ricky know. But again, before you do leave, make sure to hit that like button down below. We're over 300, so you've done well. But let's just spam it on your way out, and do subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new for more of this content. Stu, thank you for your kind words. We're now 30 away from 15.8k. Do make sure to follow me on Twitter as well, at Matt Hayes THFC. I'll put the link to that in the chat as well. I'm on the final stretch to 10,000 followers over there. So I'd really love any support on that. I talk a lot more regularly on there. It's not always about transfers. Sometimes it'll be about, I don't know, putting the dogs in the swimming pool when it's hot. But yes, please do head over and follow me on Twitter too. But I could ramble on for ages, so I'm just going to wrap it up there from me for now. And as always, thank you so much for watching.